Hello and welcome to the Return of Gnosis podcast series. I'm your host, Nick Reed, here with co-host Michael Curving. Say hello, Mike.
Howdy.
As always, we are talking about a number of interesting topics related to society and culture, and religion and politics, but all centered around a different way of knowing things than the kind of knowledge that we learn in school. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's correct.
We talk about pop culture. We talk about movies. We talk about a lot of the conspiracy theories. We talk about some outlandish stuff. We talk about some everyday boring stuff. It doesn't have to be boring, though. I don't know why I even said boring. Everyday stuff. Okay, look. So that's another thing. People go chasing these outlandish dreams, right? Nobody wants the simple life, right? Well, I want the simple life. I'll tell you that. I've been all over the world. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of things in my day, from traveling to the ruins of Machu Picchu to doing tournament MMA like an animal in a cage. And I'll tell you this, the complexity can take away from the quality of life. It's like if you're running around doing way too many things and then you never get to really have any quality time doing anything. Or if you have 100 friends that you see once a year, but you don't have any friends that you really see like once, I mean a lot more than once a year. You know what I'm saying? You don't really get that quality time with anybody.
I know exactly what you're saying.
That's the same thing.
I give you a perfect illustration of something that happened to me last week. I attended the Burning Man festival, and I was out one night really late. Me and my friend were cruising around the playa, which is this it's the area where all of the madness is happening, surrounded by just a parade of never-ending lights and sound. And I just got overstimulated. I was out there for hours on end with just no break, with this constantly droning, buzzing, flashing, everything, just my senses, boom, boom. And finally, at the end of it, I was like, I just want to get back to camp. I need to dial it down. I want some peace and quiet right now. Enough of this. I mean, it was
exactly
fun while it lasted, but I needed to get back to,
ground zero.
Exactly.
Ground zero. You got to come back down.
Yep.
Come back down to Mars. There's a really interesting story. So we never know what we're going to talk about. I love that. We come on here and we freestyle it, and the information just flows. But I do have something I want to talk about. So, on that topic, you just reminded me of something. I had a friend that I visited recently. His name's Brian. He's an old friend of mine. Possibly got some Native American blood in him. We don't know. But anyway, one day, he had a super, super influential role in my life, right? So we're coming back from the bar. And I'm driving. I'm on the freeway. You can hear freeway traffic noises and the rumbling of the engine. I mean, it was totally a noisy environment, right? And he's absolutely pissed drunk. He's just shitty. Like, he's incoherent. He's not making any sense, right? But anyway, he hits me in the arm and he says, "Pull over." And I'm saying to myself, the fuck is this guy talking about? I'm not going to pull over. We're on our way home. And then he hits me again, and he's like, "Pull over." And so I'm like, what? All right, fine. So I pull off the freeway, right? I exit, and he hits me again, and he goes, "Slow down." I'm like, oh, God, maybe he needs to throw up or something. I don't know. He's drunk. And he hits me, goes, "Slow down. Listen." And I hear my thoughts, and so in my head I can hear my own voice saying, "This guy is drunk. He's out of his freaking mind. What is he doing? He's telling me to listen to what? We're in the freeway." And then he hits me again. He says, "Shh. Listen." And again I hear my thoughts go, "He's definitely drunk. I tell you what, now he's really not making sense. I need to get this guy home faster." And then he hits me again and he says, "Shh. Listen." But in that moment, amidst all the rumbling of car engines and traffic and the wind and the radio and everything, I think I heard silence, Mike, for the first time in my entire life. In the middle of the freeway in traffic, I heard silence.
What does silence sound like?
It was, I don't know. It was like, but it was the most incredible experience, man, because it was like all of the sounds. It's like they were light coming out of a prism, right? And that prism is silence. So all the sounds were coming out of this ground that I heard, man. I swear, I heard it with my ears, dude. And I call it silence.
The ground. When you're talking about the ground, you're saying like the ground out of which all of that noise was arising?
Yeah, the metaphoric ground.
Right.
The ground out of which all sounds in that moment were coming out of some kind of place of silence. I heard them both at the same time. I heard silence and I heard all those sounds. So it's like my consciousness wasn't, the baseline wasn't just chilling in the middle of all those sounds, where some sounds are unconscious and then some that reach a certain threshold or above. It's like my consciousness was at the level of silence, like the root of where all sounds were coming out of, man. And I tell you, it was like one of those goosebumps moments. It is. The significance of which is difficult to convey to you right now. But the point is, we don't ever get that. We don't ever get to come back down to ground zero and relax. But I think it's super important, man. I mean, we live crazy, crazy complex lives. I was up at 3:45 this morning going out to a kickboxing gym. Like, this is 21st century in Western culture. We're running around like crazy.
Right. Well, one thing that I would say, I don't necessarily say it's a problem, but one way to look at this
I know,
is that
we don't want to call things problems all the time.
Right. We always seem to want the opposite. Wherever we are, we want to be, right? The grass is always greener.
So you're saying if I got silence all the time, I'd be like, damn, I need some complexity. I need some noise.
Possibly.
Let's hit the club, Mike.
Yeah.
First round's on you, huh? Maybe so.
I don't know. I was thinking back actually to I was once hanging around a backyard with a friend of mine and his 9-year-old daughter, and she said, like kids do, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I'm bored, right? And we've all said it. I've been a kid. I've been bored plenty. I said something like, boredom is the space out of which all non-boredom arises.
I like that.
Obviously not what a kid wants to hear.
No,
but,
definitely not. Probably kicked you in the shin and ran off.
Right.
At that point. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole nother side of life that, because we're on this side of things, we just don't get to appreciate. But that's actually what we need in order to have a full life. So I was thinking for our next episode, we would just have silence. What do you think about that? I mean, if I were a listener, I'd probably kick you in the shin too. But
I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, I read or heard once that there was a famous composer sometime in our modern era, not a classical composer, but who did something like that.
Abstract modern art performance.
Just silence. That was his composition. It was just, dead airspace.
Wonder how many shows he got. Like, people in the stands. Oi! I can't believe I pay for this. I could be sitting at home for free. He's like, right, but you expect your house to be quiet. You don't expect me to be quiet. Yeah. No, there's a lot of things that I think we're missing today. But one thing that I do think that we have, Mike, in 21st century, in the spirit of this times, is we got the action and the excitement. I definitely, I don't know what I'd do without a surfboard. The waves wouldn't be the same. I'm trying to appreciate that for sure. I'm trying to, I feel like sometimes we get caught up in, not liking where we are and liking the other side of the fence, thinking it's always greener, like you're saying. What if this is great too, What if I should just go out and become a freaking flaming materialistic power-hungry politician? Would that be okay with you, Mike? No, but at what point can we say that the way things are okay? You know what I mean? Like, in what perspective is all the corruption, all the war, all the stuff balanced out by the fact that every moment is also a freaking miracle at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, you got some Hitlers in the world, and you're like, ooh, that makes the world a little bit uglier. But then you've also got, Discovery Channel doing a series on Nova and how, let's say they do a series on how Hitler being born was a miracle.
The miracle of birth.
The miracle of birth.
The miracle of
Little
Hitler's
do you know,
birth.
that baby being born in the documentary was Hitler.
The Antichrist.
I don't know. I feel like today people's hearts are heavy, weighed down with. I mean, first of all, if you turn on the news, you're gonna get weighed down with a bunch of bullshit going on that the media is pumping into you to sell you something political salesmen to me, basically.
Sure. Well, part of it is they're pumping noise into your silence, right?
Pumping noise into my freaking silence, man, clogging up my pipes, dude.
That's right.
Polluting the airwaves.
They're fogging your lens, man.
Oh, that's so true. And at the same time, if you turn off the news, right, and you look up some of the things they're talking about on your own, and you start researching it, then you start uncovering, these giant global conspiracies that weigh people down just as much. It seems like the word truth now in some circles is like synonymous with being constantly aware of all of the mistrust and conspiracy going on in politics in the 21st century.
Right.
And I think that's not the whole truth. That's part of the truth. I mean, you're part of the truth because you exist. I'm part of the truth because I exist. This pen right here and this coaster is part of the truth.
Right.
For the simple fact that it exists. But that pen ain't all that exists. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I'll tell you what, though. This is something I've noticed about myself quite often is that I will turn to the news in whatever form. It doesn't necessarily mean to be mainstream news. It could be an alternative news source, whatever it is.
Alex
a
Jones?
YouTube video. Yeah, maybe. Alex Jones, We Are Change. There's all kind of places
YouTube
you can
is
get
great.
your news from.
Click here and subscribe.
But sometimes I'm going there just to fill my head, to fill the empty space, right? It's because I'm not comfortable in being in that place of silence or emptiness or whatever word you want to give it, and I need stimulation. So I get caught into, turn on some source of external stimulation, and then I get pumped full of information that I wouldn't have otherwise entertained on my own or been, maybe even been interested in.
Right, like you're like...
It's like I just become a consumer of...
It's a bit too quiet in my head today. I think I need to crank up the music.
Or not only maybe it's not just too quiet, but maybe it's too much noise going on, and I need to plug into something else to drown out the old internal monologue. Doesn't that happen? Do you ever feel like that's going on?
Turn off the voices. I picture modern psychology fixing schizophrenia. People hear voices and they're like, I've got a pill for that. And it just makes that voice shut up or become inaudible and stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much what that's one way you can use YouTube. Another way you can use, I like to get on YouTube and put on clips of like 3 hours of silence. Have you ever done that? And some say that it's unnecessary, that I should just turn off the computer, but I don't know. I think I have to go to YouTube in order to get my silence. If it's not playing silence from YouTube, then it's just not real, you know. I'm not getting something. I'm getting nothing. Silence is nothing. You know what I mean? But YouTube clip of silence, now that's something. I don't know.
So what are we getting at here? This is what I'm getting. There's the silence. There's the noise, right? There's the stimulation or the quiet, the peace, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a balance. I mean, we're constantly going from one to the other. We're like weaving in and out. Like DNA.
And here we are. I think here we are today, Mike. What we're getting at, I think, is here we are. It's the 21st century. The spirit of the times has rolled around in its cycles to now, where we have lots of stimulation and stuff. And so maybe from whatever era we came from in the dark ages, where they didn't have light, maybe they didn't have sound, I don't know, this is what we wanted. Like all that silence made us see the value in having a complex, fast-paced, advanced, technically and materially society with lots of entertainment and stimulation, right? And maybe we'll go through this and it will bring us to see the value of its opposite. Maybe it will turn into its opposite, just like night turns into day and day turns into night. What do you think about that?
I love it.
I'm going to become a future analyst. I'm putting in my application right now.
Great. Let me get the inside track. I'll bet on your predictions. And,
if I were to always bet that things would turn into their opposite, I mean, I would eventually always be right.
Exactly. Isn't that the whole point of investing? It's like when right, the crowd's going one way, you go the other. Like, right? You do the opposite of whatever. I think that's the Warren Buffett school of investing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you go the direction of everybody else, the winnings aren't going to be as big if you do win. But of course, you probably have high risk too.
Right. Let me bring this into the conversation though. What do you think about being out in nature? Because I get out into nature, right? And to me, that's getting quiet, getting to, right, like stillness, experiencing the stillness of nature. But yet there's so much going on when I really slow down enough to be in that space. I begin to notice things that I didn't notice before, you know, things happening in nature, you know, you see fish jump out of the water, the insects, nature is just, there's teeming with life that we probably so low level that we're typically not even aware of it. So it's like a place I go to get into a mode of silence, but then at the same time, once my own internal volume gets down, it's like everything else, I realize how much is going on. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, this is relativity, my friend.
Right.
If Einstein were sitting here, I mean, that would be what he would say. It's just the relativity. I don't know.
Because, in nature, too, there's really no... you think about the geometry, it's like a lot of things are fractal in nature. I don't know, you think about things like chaos theory. Compared to what we as humans, right? We draw a perfect circle. We've mastered kind of like this art of geometry, of making perfect geometric figures. But really, I don't think there's any kind of.
Well, I do.
But they say there's no such thing as a perfect circle in.
Well, they haven't seen my circles.
Right. That begs another question: are you natural, or are you? Right, we're in nature. We're part of nature. So if we can make a perfect circle, then maybe one really does exist in nature.
That's true. It's good theory. Louvre wrote a book called Last Child in the Woods. Brought to my attention some really interesting research about being in the woods and our move away from natural environments. Like, this is a podcast. They hear us, but they don't see. We're in a room. We're in an office with 4 walls, a door, a table, a desk, a bookshelf, a computer, carpet. Everything in this freaking office is made of, it is an artifact of human creation, right?
Exactly.
We are completely in our own Frankenstein, all right? We're not in the woods. This isn't why. There's no touch of wilderness. I have a plant in a pot right there. That's the state of the world, okay? Human artifact, and then a little bit of greenery growing inside of a pot disconnected from the earth, right? There it is. But Louvre brought up some research on what happens when people concentrate, okay? And apparently, when you have to concentrate on something, you create these stress hormones. You have these inhibitors in your brain that block out certain stimuli so that you can focus on something, right? And apparently we do this a lot today, like compared to indigenous tribes and cultures, right, who live in the woods or in some equivalent.
Concentrating more?
Concentrating. Like, so apparently there's another kind of attention that I think it was Abraham Maslow, or who's the father of psychology? Not Carl Rogers, not Abraham Maslow. We're talking about, I can't think of his name. Anyway, maybe it was Maslow. He said there's 2 kinds of attention, right? And he used the terms fascination and I think it was concentration. But the difference was fascination happens without effort, right? It's like it's something just draws your undivided attention. And then concentration, you actually have to direct your attention. You have to shut the door, turn off, block out all stimuli. You have to stop becoming aware of the clothes on your back because that's just too much information overload. You have to really free up your mind in order to really dig into some one particular stimuli. But fascination happens in the woods. Fascination happens in a natural environment. In a non-natural environment, a more artificial environment, the study showed that concentration is the main form. Well, if you think about the world that we live in 95% of the time, I mean, that's just statistically how much people are inside or inside of their car. 95% of the time. So that 5% of our day that we're spending outside, is that when we're getting fascination? Is that when we're able to use our creative capacity and our mind is able to get the other side of the coin of our attention naturally? Like, our attention is drawn naturally 5% of the time in our day. I mean, for a savage, I tell you what, they got it made. I mean, how easy would life be if you didn't have if learning things were effortless, because your environment were constructed in such a way that the conditions just drew your 100% undivided attention naturally. I mean, that's every teacher's wet dreams, to get kids to pay attention. They can't get kids to do anything in school nowadays. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting to me that I picked up that you're using the words divided and undivided, which is, to me, seems significant. To something undivided is whole, right? And whereas divided means there's a separation. So it sounded like you used it divided to describe the focused attention, whereas the undivided was more the fascination. I thought that was interesting. For one thing, it reminds me of the topic of brain waves, because they know that like different types of brainwave wavelengths and frequencies correspond to different modes of, I guess, consciousness or thinking or attention.
Right, alpha, beta.
Right, and so
gamma,
delta,
and
exactly, and
the rest of
beta, the alpha betas,
alpha, beta, delta, geta,
lambda.
It's too much lambda, bro.
Yeah, but the beta waves, right, are said to correspond to highly focused problem solving, attention to detail, that sort of a brain activity. And whereas alpha waves, the lower you get, is I think said to be more of a relaxed. When you're in an alpha state, you're said to be more, almost have more feelings of being at ease, being at peace, or more of a relaxed state.
Alpha's the lowest, and theta's the highest.
No, I think gamma is the highest, then beta, then alpha, and then below that you get like delta and theta, and those are generally associated with sleep states or trance states, like theta, or I think delta is the deepest. That might be your REM sleep.
So what would be, say, jumping out of a plane?
Gosh.
Like skydiving, like flying down a mountain on a snowboard. Would that be alpha, or would that be...
Well, that brings up an interesting
gamma?
question, because I don't know, one person might be scared shitless, where another person might be having the time of their life, and they might be in a flow state, right? So how do you know?
Falling out of the plane, I see. What a fascinating thing to think about. Oh, time to pull the chute. I don't know. But I'm wondering if it's like a circle. Like, what if you're ramping up and your mind's getting more and more amped, and then you're in this peak level experience flying out of the plane. Does it come back around to where you enter, say, an alpha again? Like, let's say it went alpha, beta, delta, gamma, whatever it is, and then it went back around to alpha. I mean, does it just keep going through the Greek alphabet, until you leave campus, or does it come back around? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Don't know the answer.
Just a mystical question. Just a thought.
But let's get back. I
answers.
like where we were going with this topic about the different types of attention and concentration. Who was it?
Yes.
They said Louvre. That was his name.
Louvre is his last name.
Right.
Who wrote this? It's a pretty famous book. I mean, it really shed some light on.
So I'll tell you another. Allah.
Allah.
Allah. Allah Akbar. No, but the Buddhist, there's a Buddhist concept too. It's called bare attention.
Bare attention.
Yeah, bare attention, according to what I know about it, is this...
As opposed to like tiger attention?
Lion attention.
Are you talking
Lion,
about like
tigers.
Bare attention, like bare essentials?
Bare, like bare naked, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So, and I think the idea behind that
bar.
is not to limit your attention to anything, but to try to encompass every possible stimulation that's going on around you and take it all in, but kind of without effort. So it's just kind of like relax and don't let your mind filter anything out. So you're paying bare attention to just absolutely whatever's going on. And that's...
So your attention's showing. It's just out there and for everybody to see.
Excuse me, your attention's showing? It's bare.
I think that's a crime of moral turpitude in United States in the 21st century to have bare attention. Usually you have to cover it up with something. No, but anyway, so where I was going with that, I went camping Friday night.
Uh-huh.
We had a spontaneous camp trip. We went out there probably 9:30 p.m. and set up a tent in the field in the dark next to a buzzard. And I woke up, and it was literally the best night of sleep I've ever had. I mean, we sat there from like 9:30 to midnight, down by the water. You got the breeze blowing on you. It's blowing on the waves. You can hear the water. You can see all the stars in the sky. I don't know if it was a new moon or what, but it was pretty fantastic sky for being just outside of a middle-sized metropolitan area. And I'm telling you, man, I didn't even want to talk. I don't think my wife and I even talked once. I think we just sat there. We were both just like, oh my God. we haven't had this in a long time. It's like such a radically different environment, right? I mean, how much of a freaking house pet have I become that going out camping at the lake up the road is a alien, otherworldly experience? I mean, this is nuts. Like, I mean, this is equivalent of like being a wolf and you're turned into like a Shih Tzu over time. Like, we're a radically different creature. But anyway, I sat there over the water and watched my mind just relax. And as it relaxed, I became... At first, we weren't even aware of our surroundings. We're still talking about bills and shit. You know what I mean? Like, our head is still here in the city, even though our body's out in the country. But then eventually, like, I started to notice the water, and then I started to notice the sky, and I started to notice the wind. And then before you know it, it became this one giant, colorful experience. I could feel it on my skin. Like, it was invigorating. It was just, and the temperature was so perfect. Anyway, I don't want to paint like a rosy picture.
I love the
a
picture you're
mystical
painting.
Experience. I just went camping. But anyway, I thought about what we're talking about today, and that's probably partially why the gods have blessed us with this topic right now, is because it's on our minds in some respect. I came back and I was able to, do things. I was burnt out. I was completely burnt out. And that's something that Louvre talked about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
We have the capacity for both fascination and concentration. Like, they're two peas in a pod. You need both. Sometimes you need to concentrate, sometimes you need to relax, and stuff needs to happen naturally, right? I think that I, and probably everybody listening to this, and probably you and your mom and everybody else, is burnout on concentration. We don't even know it. We've just been pushing out all of these inhibitory enzymes in our brain to block out stimuli for 100 to maybe 120% of our day, to the point where, you can't eat enough sweet potatoes to replenish that stuff. There's no supplement you can take, man. I mean, you're running on fumes. Like, as soon as we're replenishing them, we're probably using them. Imagine how much we could probably concentrate if we had a balance, if we had like a fascination. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This is my question. Like, kids in like the school in Finland that I always talk about, or the schools in Finland. It's basically all of them, but they go to school just a couple hours a day, right? They're scoring higher than anybody else.
Oh, wow.
Why is that? Are they able to concentrate when they go to school because they only go a couple hours a day and then they're back in the woods? I don't know. You know, maybe we should go to Finland and check it out. If they're even there, maybe they're on recess. You know, I don't know, but all I know is I'm burnt out. I can feel it in my bones. You know what I mean? And normal shit has become, a mountain to climb. And then I go camping for one night. I come back so refreshed, I can't even tell you. I worked on the car for 4 or 5 hours. I mowed 5 acres at my dad's house with a push lawnmower uphill in the heat for 4 hours, and then we went to an event. I mean, like, my energy went up like 1,000%. My ability and my discipline to be able to do things that otherwise were becoming super difficult. You know what I'm saying?
So here's a question then. Why
did Henry Thoreau go in the woods? Yeah, I think I know why.
Well, why have we built a culture that we need to constantly have an escape hatch or escape valve from?
So let's talk about that. So, like, the natives, did they envy this one day just like, yeah, we need more material and technical development. This is too much fascination. And here we are? Or was this like the grand mistake of the universe? I don't want to look at it like it's wrong. I believe that in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the divine, right, all things are perfect. All things are good. In their own imperfection, in the eye of time, however you want to see it, that everything has its purpose and it's good, right? In its fullness. When everything comes to fruition, it's all good. It's all good. Even Hitler. That's right.
Even being out of harmony?
Yeah, how can you recognize the harmony without disharmony? You know what I'm saying? You need some discord. Like,
right.
You're not listening to music that's just 100% harmonics. You got discord. You have, what are the two tones you have in music? You have a like a positive and a negative chord, basically. I'm not a musician.
Yeah, I
can't
am, and I'm just drawing blanks.
I can't think of it either. It doesn't matter. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Major and minor.
Yes.
You have majors and minors.
Right.
You don't just have majors all the time. There's this dance between majors and minors. It's like, so what if we have this dance of life that we're doing that's majors and minors of life, where you're in harmony with the freaking universe, and then you're out. And then you're like, oh, this is terrible. And then you're right back. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was just all the time you're in a major, right? All the time you're in a harmony. There's no disharmony, right? There's no discord. There's no chaos. It's just all order. How could you call it order?
Right.
Then you wouldn't have the fullness. Then you couldn't have the wholeness and the completeness that you're thinking we harmonize with, right? How could you without it? That's right, guys. God is dependent on the devil. I just make a major jump for dramatic comical effect. You dig?
I dig, man.
Hear me now, hear me now.
Dig, dig, dig.
Easy. But yeah, so how do we wrap this up, Mike?
I don't know how you can wrap it up, because it just keeps going.
Well, no, it's got an end. It's coming soon.
Okay.
I'm out of water.
Shoot, man. Here you go. I'll fill you up, brother.
Hey, man, that cup was looking half full before you did that. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess there's no other way to wrap this up than to say you're listening to the Return to Gnosis podcast. I'm your host, Nick Reed, your co-host, Michael Curving. Tune in next time as we talk about the secret marriage of Hitler and Pamela Anderson. Or something maybe a little deeper, but maybe not.